Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris. This is the DC Designs AV-8B Harrier 2, a pre-release version, so the caveat being that not everything is implemented and things may change prior to release, etc. But we're going to be flying a proper mission with this aircraft. I was inspired by one of my viewers who said, hey, it would be nice if we could actually do something with these airplanes. So I'm going to do just that. I'm going to fly an anti-piracy, anti-narcotics type mission. The vessels are provided by Seafront Simulations, so thanks to them for sending me a copy of their Hawaii pack. And we're going to include a bunch of stuff in this video. So we're going to do a full startup. We're going to use external stores. We're going to be GPS routing. We're going to use the MFD setup, a little bit of UFCP setup, a helmet mounted display because that's useful for finding stuff or at least looking for the bad guys. We're going to do a show of force. So we're going to actually do a profile used in the real world to scare the bad guys off. And then we're going to come back in and probably do a touch and go or a hover touch and go on one of the vessels, and then come back for an ILS to Honolulu. So there is a lot of stuff going on. Addressing the elephant in the room, we have clearly got the Top Max Studios F-22, aka Starscream, parked next to us. So it's a busy old servicing apron here, but we're going to focus on the AV-8B for now. So let's scroll on around, and we're going to put some stores on it. So weight and balance. Everything I've got is in kilos, so if you use kilos, then feel free to copy this, but we'll go, I think it's 86 and 172 on this one. So we've got Mavericks and AIM-9s fitted just in case we need them. If you want the external tanks, of course, you can just up the fuel loading in the external tank function, but we don't need that much fuel. So we want to keep our weight down as much as possible. So the startup procedures I'm about to go through are not perfect per real world. There'll be enough for you to get this thing started up nice and quick. Of course, this aircraft is not designed to be study level. It is designed to be accessible to a lot of people and a heap load of fun. So let's go through the startup now. First things first, on the left-hand side, there is a fuel cutoff lever. Up is on, as I can see, and the DEX switch needs to be on as well. I can use track IR to get round there. If you can't get the lever, just put the lever down, then use the deck switch and then put the lever back up. So that is complete. Now we're going to go down to the right hand side and do the battery and generator. That boots everything up. On the left hand side we'll put the lights on, external lights. Forwards of that we have the fuel panel, so the fuel prop, left and right fuel pumps. And then ordinarily you can shut the canopy. I'm going to leave it open for now and we'll start the engine up. So APU gen and engine start. RPM can be seen winding up on the right hand side, and when the engine starts to ignite, the jet pipe temperature will increase as well. It takes a while to get up to speed at the moment. Once you started, the engine start switch will automatically click off. I'll go ahead and shut the canopy. Now the engine started, look down to the left hand side. I'm going to make all these switches forwards, the main one being the oxy, but there's lots of other things. And I'm not going to profess to knowing what they all are, but I'm going to put them all forwards anyway. The lights we've already done. The park and brake, by the by, is on the left hand side here. You've got the nozzle, which is currently on the prop axis here, and the nozzle stop does actually work. We'll put the jet pipe temperature limiter on. And then lower left we've got Q fuel, yaw, roll, pitch. Put these ones on. We'll put some anti-skid on. We'll put water to take off. Master arm will make as we get to the runway, and I'll talk through the avionics in just a moment. Down the right hand side we have a panel that looks like it was Squawk IFF, but it looks like it's another method of data entry in terms of the COM and nav, but we'll talk through the UFCP in just a sec. Instrument lighting panel is down here, and ECS aft of that. Underneath the UFCP we've got a declutter or HUD symbology, looks like hub symbology at the moment. We've got day and night, we've got video brightness and contrast. Now the contrast switch, if you put the contrast switch up and then look outside, you've got a helmet mounted display. If you want to remove that, you turn it down. So we'll switch it off for now so it's not distracting, but we'll use that later. We've also got baro altitude and radar altitude for selecting in the HUD. In terms of data entry on the UFCP, like I said, not everything is implemented right now. I can't turn things on and off, but basic functionality that we need, not that we're going to use the TACAN, but TACAN is there. IFF is here, 4577, enter. Now if you go page up and page down, you'll also get XPDR transponder, 4577, enter. So that's my transponder and it's already on. AWL is a function of putting in VHF navigation beacons. So for the ILS 08 left, 111 0.7. Enter, and you can see the course bar will snap to the final approach course, and that is displayed here. We're not doing anything else with the course bar, so I'll leave that displayed, and we're going to be following a GPS routing just shortly. The rest isn't implemented at this stage, but now I'm going to set up my MFDs how I prefer them. So on the left hand side, menu, HSI, and on the right hand side, the flare picture. The GPS navigation using this setup currently, we've got GPS routing. We can scale through the ranges with the top center button. It goes from half a mile to 160 miles and just toggle through. So you can see the route we're going to be taking. If you select waypoint in the top right, that's going to put information for the next waypoint into the head-up display. You've got up and down in terms of moving the waypoint around, and you can see an arrow points to your waypoint, as well as a line going direct from your present position to that waypoint. If you enable sequence 1, you can see the sequencing of the route, and to the lower right button you can press auto and it will automatically toggle through the waypoints. At the moment that puts it back to 0, so I'll just toggle it back to waypoint 2. I think we're close enough for waypoint 1 that it'll automatically sequence anyway, and it's gone automatically over to waypoint 2. So I'll leave it as is, and that will cycle through the waypoints. You've also got the ability to show TACAN information, ILS information up on the head-up display by toggling the ILS information. And then for the mode, if you click mode and then map, you can toggle away the map, and that's how I'm going to keep it because it's a little bit less distracting using this way. Whilst I mentioned TACAN, if I click on TACAN on the UFCP, you'll notice these buttons on the left hand side will change. Currently TACAN is to receive. If you want it transmit receive, you need to select T and R. With the startup complete, we'll taxi on out to the runway. We'll put the nozzles to about 10 degrees, move the parking brake, and off we go. To stop the flaps hunting, I'll set those to cruise until we're ready for takeoff. Okay, so like I said, I'm not a real Harrier pilot, or I wasn't a real Harrier pilot, so I'm not entirely sure if everything I'm saying is correct, but it's certainly good enough to get you flying this aircraft. So we're holding short for the runway. What I'll do is now configure it for a short takeoff. So I'm going to make sure the flaps are appropriate, so the flaps can go to auto, I think. That'll do for me. I'm going to set the water to takeoff. I'm going to set the master arm to arm. Seat will be confirmed as live. Well, I haven't actually strapped in by the looks of it, so let's just ignore that. And nozzles, I believe, go to 20. But again, correct me if I'm wrong, put it in the comments below if it's 10 or 20 for the short takeoff. And now it's time to get going. So let's taxi onto the runway and take off. Okay, so here we go, power set, brakes release. Through 60 knots, I'll increase the nozzle down. That looks cool. Now to accelerate, I'll just move the nozzles further and further aft, and through 200 knots, I think we're pretty much good to put them all the way aft. Okay, so we're airborne, so let's switch the water off. The flaps can go to cruise. Nozzles are good, 350 knots. To the right 2 o'clock you'll see a vessel in the water. It is actually moving, courtesy of Seafront Simulations, and it looks pretty cool. Nice. And some more parked up in the harbour. Okay, yes, I know I'm flying over the city far too low, but let's just say I've got approval for it. You'll see a mark in the HUD, that is my steering to my waypoint. I'm going to select Baro altimeter in the HUD. You can see rad alt, correction, that's rad alt, is that R? And that shows me my height above the ground. Honolulu City is very nicely modelled. I do like flying over this. And the sea, when we get to the far side, looks spectacular. Down to the left hand side, we've got the memorial. That was waypoint 1. And it looks like it sequenced me on, because you can see the tick mark is now left, it sequenced me on to my next waypoint. If you want to fly low level at 420 knots in this, about 1000 RPM is where you want to set it, and the RPM is indicated just here. Pop up now and position ourselves for some overhead watch. Put barrier back on the head-up display. We'll increase the contrast so that we have our helmet-mounted display. And ordinarily you'd have your helmet-mounted display queued to a targeting pod. But in this case, it's kind of useful just to note what your speed is and your altitude is whilst you're distracted looking outside the cockpit. And the cross in the middle is just a nice way of me showing you what I'm looking at. About 350 knots for the cruise up here will do. We'll say we've got the block 5,000 to 8,000 feet, so I can cruise around here, and look at that water down there. That is spectacular. Now, not all the wake that you can see down there are vessels. Some of it is just textures baked in from, I guess, Bing Maps. For instance, that one there, I think, is a Bing Map texture. But we'll have a look around for some sort of vessel. And what we'll do then is position ourselves for a show of force. Now, a lot of people think that fighter jets and bomber jets are there to drop bombs. Well, actually, they're there to achieve an effect. And the effect is usually to stop the bad guys doing what they want to do. And if you can do that by just being there and showing that you're there, then that's aim achieved. Now, if they don't move and they ignore you, then sure, you're going to drop some bombs on them. Now, I've just picked up this vessel here, and that one looks like it's worth checking out. So I'm going to position for that, and the first thing I'm going to do is figure out what my attack profile is going to be. And by attack, I mean show of force. So I'm probably going to go over to this side here where I'm pointing, and then fly along the water, to fly past and then disappear and climb back up to medium level. I then coordinate with air traffic and say, requesting the block surface to 6,000 feet. And they'll confirm clear of any other air users. I think it's that boat there. Anyway, we'll pick up one boat and we'll fly past it. We'll then check that our countermeasures are enabled. Now, chaff and flare aren't enabled in here. We'll probably drop some flares just to scare him off. And my master arm is to arm, so that's all good. I do like the modelling of this side of the island. It's very nice indeed. Okay, it might be that one. In fact, we might hit two. Let's go for that one and then the second one. So let's see if we can find two of them. So for the show force, we want to be fast because A, it's louder, and B, it gives us the opportunity to zoom out of any danger. We're now heading in. About 450 to 500 knots ideally. There's one. There we go, show force complete. Let's start heading home, which I know is in this direction. We'll climb back into our block. We're about 7,500 feet. Turn the helmet mounted display off. That looks good. We'll do a check of fuel. I can go total fuel by scrolling this around, or put one on the gas. Plenty of fuel. Fuel, instruments, radios, altimeters, cabin conditioning, and safe altitude. Well, I can see down there, there's not a cloud in the sky. Not down here anyway. Okay. Cruising home. So, I can have a look. If I scroll to a larger distance, I can scroll. In fact, let's take auto sequencing off. Got up to waypoint 7. In the head-up display, you can see waypoint 7 is 7.3 miles away, and this is my bearing, 203, and that's where my navigational track is. So we're going to try and land ourselves on the deck of a ship. Now the ship isn't moving. I could land on the moving one, but I think there are some glitches in the fact that once I touch down, I just roll off the back. Like there's no friction. We're going to land on this one here. Because it's not moving, I'll delay my my base turn a little bit, and because I'm not entirely proficient at slowing down in time, I'll give myself plenty of space. What I will need to do though is select my water to landing, and we need to configure the airplane. Gear, flaps to stable, and some nozzles. Okie doke. If you haven't seen my other video where I take a very quick lap of Marina de Campo, then I recommend checking that out because that worked out quite nicely. I'm hoping I can reproduce my successes here. I'm high, which isn't the best thing to do. Ideally on rollout you want to be about 300 to 400 feet, I think. But I got my speed under control, so that's cool. Trying not to drop the power too quickly because it'll drop like a brick. That's of course a bad thing. Okay, so the white line looks a bit close to the edge and the yellow line looks a bit close to the deck structure, so let's try and go halfway between. It's kind of cool. Alright, I think I'm a little bit far left. There we go. Let's try this. Now let it come down. Don't try and hover it too much. Through the ground effect and idle. We made it. Right, let's try and take off again. We're off, gear up. And nozzles, transition to forward flight, and we'll go for this ILS then. Okay, so I've deselected the water for landing because this will be a conventional landing. What I do need to do is make sure that I've tuned in my localizer so I can see 1117. I'm going to position about 1,000 to 1,500 feet. I'm not going to follow the procedure for the ILS perfectly because I just want to get it done a little bit quicker. Maybe about 1,000 feet. And then I'm going to select ILS N, box that, and then in the HUD we have ILSN IHNL. We have the indications on the HUD. More of those when we turn back inbound and we can see them a bit clearer. And that is where we're going. Right, so conventional landing with this aircraft, it appears that the model requires a healthy bit of speed, has a lot of drag on this airframe, which isn't unusual because it does look like a bit like a brick. But keep the power up, otherwise you'll slow down fairly quickly. I know I'm downwind because I'm reciprocal of the course bar, and it looks like I have got an arrow pointing towards where the runway is. And then what I'll do is I'll swing it round to the left and hopefully not overshoot final. Here we go. $230 knots. So I'm looking between the HUD and the MFD on the left, and I'll give myself about a 20-degree cut because I'm very close. About 1,100 feet. Gear. Flap to auto. Don't let it sink. Here comes the course bar. Okay. So you can see that the localizer is slightly off to the left, confirmed by the course bar, and you can see the glide path has come in, so I need to start going down at about a 3.5-degree glide path. So I need to go a bit more to the left. I need to slow down a little bit because I need to have that staple next to my flight path marker. So these are the ILS indications. I'm happy to report that the staple is actually very stable. As long as you're holding a stable speed, the staple doesn't bounce around a lot, which is good. Cool, brakes are off, gears down, flaps to auto. Decision speed around about here. Following the power. Looking to the end of the runway. Probably a little bit early to do that. And we're down. That's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, this is a pre-release edition of this aircraft, but it is a lot of fun already. Put in the comments if you want to see anything specific or if you've got any questions, but otherwise I'll hope you join me for the next video.